Morris Goldberg here, owner of Koru Chiropractic Corrective Care, and today I want to show you 5 booty blasting exercises to help with your low back pain and your SI joint pain. Okay, so the first exercise that we're going to do is really an activation exercise for your glutes and a release activation or exercise for your psoas muscle, okay? So what you need is a foam roller. This is going to be called the foam roller press and squeeze. So you want to get your legs into a 90-90 position, stack your hands on top of the foam roller. You could also use maybe just like a countertop or a tabletop, something stable. Essentially stack your hands. You want to press them straight down. So I'm exerting all the pressure downwards. And what that does is just activates my core all the way through. And then the second step is I want to activate or squeeze my glute muscles. So here's the press. Second is the squeeze of my glute muscle, that back muscle there. Squeeze as hard as you can for about 5 seconds and then relax. You should feel a big stretch in the front of your hip right here with a nice squeeze in your butt muscle back here, okay? This leg is pretty much just relaxed. And then you want to repeat that, maybe 6 to 10 times, really getting a nice squeeze and activation with a deep stretch in the hip, and then switch sides. Next, we're gonna do some bridges and bridge variations. So if bridges are new to you, you do the basic ones, and then if they're getting old or they're easy, you can do the more advanced ones because they get just more difficult and hard as you go, okay? So the first one we're gonna start with is just a double leg bridge. You wanna bring your heels towards your buttocks as close as you can, and then get your shoulders nice and flat, hands by your side, and then just focus on squeezing the hips together, nice and tight, pushing the pelvis up towards the ceiling, like you're driving your pubic bone all the way to the ceiling, right? So I got nice contraction and my body is nice and flat. Maybe my hips might even be a little bit higher than my low back, which is even better. And all the force is driving through my heels. So you can see my toes are even off the ground right here. And so this is just a basic bridge. We can hold this for a period of time. You can do reps to strengthen and get that good squeeze right at the top. So maybe like 15 to 20 reps. And then eventually you could also do marches where you alternate your legs, keeping your body straight out in a straight line, even though one leg is lifted, right? So that's glute marches. And then you can also do single leg lift. So what I'm gonna do, put my leg straight up in the air and then focus on keeping my foot flat, almost like I'm gonna go and press it up to the ceiling, or we're gonna raise the roof, all right? So there we go. Getting nice reps in here and maybe doing, whatever you can do, maybe 4 or 5 on each side if that's where you're starting. But ultimately, we want to build endurance in this muscle because it's a postural muscle that has to work all day long. If you want your glutes to be stronger, you can train them, with deadlifts and squats. But for the purpose of this exercise and stabilizing your pelvis and your SI joints and your low back muscles, we want that glute to really have a lot of good endurance and stability. So I want to show you one more glute variation. This one hits the muscles a little different. So what you can see is I'm kind of like in a lotus pose here. I've got my feet together. We actually call this frog bridges. And what we're going to do is I'm literally just going to keep, while my feet are together, I'm going to press them together and then lift my hips off the ground as high as I can. You're not going to have the same range of motion. And for me, I even get a little kind of pinch in my hip labrum, probably an older rugby injury, but it still feels good. And like I said, kind of hits different muscles from different angles. So that's always a good thing to do when rehabbing your spine. Good old Jane Fonda's, right? We want to get a little bit more glute medius activation. A lot of us have really bad glute maximus activation and sometimes even overactivated or really tight glute medius. So that's one concern that I'm not going to address in this video. For today's purpose, we're just going to focus on getting that activation. So what you want to do is just lift your leg as high as you can to the side, even with a slight inward rotation of that foot, and keeping that knee straight, right? So it's okay if you come slightly back, maybe about 5 or 10 degrees, but again, just rep this out, probably going for 15 to 20 reps, okay? And then you're gonna switch sides. The next one we're gonna do is clamshells, and these are great. If you're doing these all in a row, you should feel a nice burn going on here right now, okay? So with clamshells, you can put a band around the knees if you need to, but oftentimes I find if I'm really focusing on the contraction in the right area, I really don't need a band. I just wanna get that muscle squeezing and activating as tight as it can, okay? So I'm gonna keep my feet together and just sandwich back and forth here, opening and closing the knees like a clam. Shell opening in the ocean, right? So nice and easy. really focusing at the top. I got a good contraction. I got a nice squeeze right in my hip. And if I feel my butt, quite honestly, the whole thing is flexed right now. It's got activation throughout. It's not just my tiny little hip muscles deep inside the hip, even though that's where I feel, you know, some pretty good activity going on. Again, I'm even holding it right now. I'm feeling now the whole muscle engaging, right? So you can rep it out that way. You can hold it at the top, get a squeeze for 2 or 3 seconds if you want. But again, 15 to 20 reps on each side. So once you're done this side, flip on over. Okay, so I'm gonna show you hip cars or controlled axial rotation. So this is kind of like the ultimate rehab exercise actually for the hip joint itself, but good for activating all the hip muscles and helping to stabilize the low back and the SI joints as well, okay? So this is very different than, say, cat-cow, you know, in yoga where you're really trying to mobilize your T-spine. For the purpose of this exercise, I want you to be totally stable and flat in your spine. Really draw your belly button in and even push your hands slightly apart because that's gonna pull your shoulder blades back and really stabilize your chest, okay? The next thing we're gonna do, one leg at a time, you're gonna go into flexion by just drawing your knee up towards your hand or towards your head. And what you don't wanna do is go into hyperflexion of the lumbar spine, okay? So again, for the purposes of exercise, I want my spine to be perfectly straight. This is the position that a lot of people hurt their low backs in, right? Especially if they're lifting weights like squatting. So what we're trying to do is stabilize or train a very flat back while we're moving the hips, okay? So again, coming up into flexion. Next, we're gonna go into abduction. So we're lifting our hip and our knee away from the other knee and hip, right? And then the next thing is we're gonna do internal rotation. So I'm gonna turn my foot upwards towards the ceiling. Now my foot is almost flat. I could put a little plate on there. Next, I'm gonna rotate it back in and then go into extension, okay? So this motion right here, when I do it in one somewhat smooth motion, you can see how I just kind of roll around the joints, right? And I can even go faster. You don't wanna go too fast, right? We start recruiting the wrong muscles. But you can see as I'm doing this, I'm working pretty hard, right? I'm stabilizing. I got a lot of tension through my arms, through my abdominal muscles. This is a, you know, activity ready position. So especially if you're playing sports, if you like to maybe ski or go hiking, this is a great dynamic exercise to do. And you can also do it in the standing position, which I'm going to show you right now. So in the standing position, we're simply just going to, you know, you can hold on to something if you need to, but the best way to do this, the way to get the best stability is freestanding, right? So you're gonna bring the knee up, again, slight flexion. You're not coming so high that you're rounding in the back, but you're just gonna bring the knee up. You're gonna bring it out to the side. You're gonna rotate it back as far as you can, almost like a little scorpion kick there. I bring it back, and then I donkey kick all the way to the back. Now, after doing all of these exercises and making this great video for you, I am feeling it, right? I'm feeling it in my glutes, I'm feeling it in my hamstrings, I'm feeling it in my spinal erector muscles. I'm ready to go, I'm stronger, I'm more stable, and if you do these 5 exercises on a daily basis, I guarantee you're gonna get better results in anything you do. Sitting, moving in life, standing up, walking, but also advanced activities and hobbies that keep you moving and keep you enjoying life. Again, I'm Dr. Norris Goldberg here in Louisville, Colorado, and I am a corrective care chiropractor. So if you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you need corrective care, which is a combination of very gentle and specific adjustments and corrective exercises like I showed today, give us a call. We'd love to help you out.